Hello and welcome back to Exile. There were a number of things I wanted to discuss today. I haven't been keeping up with politics or anything like that, or the news. After the previous video, which I suppose I'll probably keep, even for shame, the dead in Birkdale. It's now Wednesday, middle of the week. What was I going to talk about? Something to do with narcissistic abuse. There was something to do with narcissistic abuse. Communication skills some other time, maybe. Or now, like echolalia. I was on my psychiatric report when I was diagnosed with Asperger's. It said that I had echolalia, delayed echolalia. Albert Einstein had a form of echolalia, but it was more of an immediate thought. I sometimes find myself doing that as well, but only to sort of say something better, repeat a word, sort of not repeating the word because you think it is a joke. That's how I say that. And then saying it better, with better stress on syllables. It confuses it with all the different accents we have in the world. I don't know if that has something to do with it, or not really having an accent as well, because you standardise your speech, don't you, with not necessarily receive pronunciation, but you would have a British standard English, particularly if you're middle class, although not always, because you see definite regional variations. Sorry. Anyway, the narcissism, what was I going to say? Well, it's like, I was thinking how I never ended up in the army. I was rejected from the army, not because I like flowers or anything like that, in spite of the shirts, but because of the mental health. But the whole reason I had a mental health issue, why I had mental health treatment, I mean, my dad was a community psychiatric nurse, but he liked to put a lot of pressure on me about doing things, and he even came into the general practitioners, the doctor's surgery, with me on the issue of depression, and it was leading to, I ended up having to take Seroxat for anxiety, and or I was advised and prescribed, and it went on my record when I applied for the army. I had to put, or I felt obliged to put, yes, I have had sort of a mood disorder of some sort. I have had, although I don't think I am the most moody, reckless person in the world, and a lot of soldiers, if they weren't depressed to begin with, probably are after they've served or after or during. But when people say, oh yeah, you can't be shooting all the other soldiers, like, I don't think it's in my nature to shoot people, but okay. unless I'm meant to, unless it's for an objective, like, I don't know, policing Baghdad, which of course is totally honourable. My dad, yes. It's interesting. I'll come back to my mum and dad. That the seems to be a vacuum on YouTube of the consideration of Asperger's and autism, and the consideration of cluster B disorders and complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and there are some significant similarities between both, and the other people involved in the lives of people who have those conditions. They could be comorbid anyway, that's occurring together. They're not mutually exclusive. That's a funny term, isn't it? But how about I now talk about an overcompetitive narcissistic father who doesn't let on and always has to be the nice guy and is the caring person. An awful lot of narcissistic people do allied health professions or teach or are doctors. Well, he came to the GP with me And he said things like, "This is what we never get from Alex. He never gives a straight answer. He can't communicate with us. He never tells us anything." And then when the doctor, she said, "Well, this is how he expresses, talks about things." And afterwards he made the point rather enviously and exaggeratedly that, "Oh, she likes you." So like, you're floundering on. I think it probably is. I sometimes wonder, does he have narcissistic traits? But a number of times over the years where you found yourself floundering, and there are demands placed on you, and yet they still find something else, maybe only at intervals, to say, "God, you're crap, aren't you?" Or you get more than you should, or one thing is education. He was seems to be saying an awful lot in an understated way, not an obvious way at least, at different times, that he didn't like his school days and he didn't like bright people. And you get the idea in your head, yes, it must have been more difficult for you in your family, and it must have been more difficult for you in your generation. Maybe the exams were harder and everything like that, and when you're faced with competition, maybe you have a tendency to give in. It seemed to be what he was saying, that I didn't like the other people who were better at school than me. And I was actually one of the better people in my year, academically. He wasn't. But you could argue, if he is narcissistic, then it isn't so much that he couldn't, so much as he wouldn't. And he was a bit more socially au fait, is that the word, adept, with girls and things like that, which is something I've never, or only on a little bit. I was getting to it in my teens, but then it's something I've never had. Girlfriends, I've never had those sort of friendships, relationships, whatever they're meant to be anyway. I mean, the world is awash with completely messy relationships and people not doing what they should do by each other. But the world still spins, people get by. Well, they get hetero, sorry, bad joke. But one or two other things. I got 9 GCSEs, they were good grades. He got 2 O-levels. Something I've sort of diminished the value of over the years. I found myself saying, and he actually said to me myself, "Oh, those, you'll find that they'll pale into insignificance. You'll find that as you get older." Well, it seems like you're making me find that now, aren't you? Or you were making me find it like 17, 18 years ago. Everything you have to be affronted by your own experiences, and you have to make it seem like I'm something to do with that. When you're the one who has the career, you're the one who has the relationship, you're the one who has the house, the family. But oh no, everything's going wrong for you too. Narcissists do, I think, have this sort of hypervigilant panic. So they play the victim. And so on. I think in a number of occasions I've seen this. His wife, my mum, how would I define her? That's for another day. I think something like comorbid Asperger, histrionic, codependent. Why can't 2 narcs live together? I don't understand that. Maybe it's both effectively narcissistic in some way, or psychopathic, even antisocial personality disorder. From what I gather, all the cluster B are effectively a form of psychopathy, aren't they? I mean, when someone doesn't care about how their behaviour affects somebody else, and it controls, it doesn't have to be anything to do with somebody else. That level of harm. Just thinking my aims in life, my motives, are ambition and creativity. Maybe not all the time, or just to be content, but I mean, it doesn't involve the lines between whereas some narcissists' ambitions or a narcissistic drive in life is not ambitions. It's ambitions that have the control of other people, the demeaning of somebody else, in order to aggrandize themselves. As I'm not the expert on this, I'm taking a lot of this second hand, but it makes sense to me. Now, I probably have people like, well, mainly Richard Grannon, the Spartan life coach, to thank for explaining a lot of these things. But I do get spacey headed. Is this Asperger's or stupid or low IQ? I don't know. Or CPTSD or head injury, who knows? Low testosterone, hormonal surge, who knows? It'll be I wanted to go on about something and I can't remember what it is. I think I've probably covered it. The excessive competition. Sadly, goodbye.